All right, so this is virtual shifting on RideCave. In settings, you go to trainer, and there's a few things to show here. One is simulation mode. I've already demoed this, and we have other demos of it elsewhere. But simulation mode just overrides ERG mode with basically free ride, so you use your shifting to meet your power targets. We also have trainer difficulty, and what this is for routes, virtual routes, you control how difficult the grade is. So, for example, at 50% difficulty, a 10% climb feels like a 5% climb. The reason you have this on trainers is because the physics of a trainer are different than the physics in real life, and it doesn't feel the same to do a 100% grade. If it's a 10% grade, it's going to feel quite difficult. So you'll still go the same speed up the climb based on the physics of the app. But what this does is effectively give you a wider range of gears. So if you're at 50% of the difficulty, it'll give you a broader set of gear ranges to complete a climb in. That's how you can think of it. And then virtual shifting is a new feature where perhaps you don't have, maybe you have a single speed on your bike, or maybe you have the Zwift cog, or perhaps you have a small range of gears and you want a larger range. And that's what this demo is about, is the virtual shifting. And that's how I want to show how these three settings are related. So when you enable virtual shifting, first thing you should know is it automatically enables simulation mode, because when you have virtual shifting, you have to use the non-ERG workouts. So virtual shifting works by changing effectively the grade simulation, but you don't really know that. That's just how it works under the hood. When you have virtual shifting enabled, there's a multiplier that is applied to the grade. So if you're in a route and the grade is 10%, under the hood, what happens is, we use sophisticated math to calculate the gear ratio and use that as a multiplier on top of that grade, so that the actual value that goes to your trainer is different depending on what percent the gear ratio is. And you can have some shifting intensity, which just determines how fast it shifts effectively. And then once you have this enabled, you won't see this live quite yet, but in this version of the demo, we have Zwift Click configured and Cycle Plus BC2. These are optional sort of physical shifting devices. But if you don't have those, you can still use the up and down arrow of the keyboard or any Bluetooth clicker off the internet that you might want to buy. And you'll see in a moment that you can also use the buttons in the workout player to shift your gears. So I'm going to leave this as is in all these default settings. I have virtual shifting enabled. And I'll go ahead and let's just do any of these really. Let's do this here. This is a route, Paso dello Stelvio. Oh, let me enable the simulator so you can see this. I'm on my local computer, so I'm not actually on a trainer right now doing this demo. And so you'll see my training. This is my trainer simulator for testing locally. Okay, and here we go. You can see the flyby here, the 3D map, and then the 2D map, and our climbing graph with various statistics, your current elevation, your current grade, route progress, climbing done, climbing left, and elapsed time. Of course, these maps all zoom in. This one does not zoom, but it has these controls where you can control the camera view if you don't like the default camera view. You can see we're headed for the climb. The mountains are in the distance here. And you won't really be able to tell much that I'm shifting, but you can see down here, these are the gears. So If you remember, I selected road gearing. These are the gearing options we have: road, climbing, flat, time trial, gravel 1x, and mountain bike 1x. By the way, if you change this mid-ride, it's not going to work. This only works, you'd have to restart your ride, so it works for every fresh ride. Okay, and so there's also an audio sound when you shift. I'll see if the video picks it up. I'm not sure if that's going to be picked up in the demo, but I'll try. So you can see I'm switching to a higher, harder gear, and then a lower, easier gear. Now, it might be confusing and not intuitive at first if you see these numbers updating. You'll see that we're switching the big and low ring in the front and the cogs in the back cassette at the same time. And so we're basically just transitioning linearly through all of the gears on a 2x configuration based on their ratio. And this will make more sense if I show you this custom view that I put together. Let's see, I forget which one it was. Here it is. Okay, so there's a new widget for gearing, and you can see your gearing here. You see I have 14 out of 20 gears, and this is the gear ratio. So now I'm going to switch through these gears in real time, and now it'll make much more sense. You see the gear ratio. This is the really large gear, the hardest gear. Now when I switch down through the gears, watch the big ring and the little ring, and then the number of gears. Okay, so based on the ratio, we're just going straight through all the gear values all the way down to the smallest gear. And you'll notice some gears are missing. That's because they're similar enough to not need them here, and we only do the specific gears that have a dramatic enough difference. And of course, this is the trainer simulator, so you're not going to see a difference in the power I'm outputting here in the bottom right. Okay, so that's gears, that's virtual shifting. You should know that in routes, what we have here instead of watt controls, this is the trainer difficulty setting, which you can also set in settings. So here you have the trainer difficulty. This is a set it and forget it option for your default setting, but you might be on a route that has a different climbing profile that might dictate a different trainer difficulty setting, or perhaps the GPS that was imported is not quite right or not quite refined and you want to change the trainer difficulty to match the real world. You can do that in real time right here with these controls. And again, you're not going to see much of a difference here in the app with the trainer simulator, but that's what these controls do when you're inside of a route. Now, one more thing to show you. I'm just going to end this. Sorry, let's go to widgets. So there in RideCave, you have a widget builder where you can create custom data for your workout. And in here, let's just say, so all of your gear data is here. So, you know, the sky's the limit on what type of math you might want to do here in terms of your gear ratio and your heart rate, perhaps. You know, divided by heart rate. I'm not sure what that calculation would be, and people that are more skilled in sports physiology might be able to come up with different statistics, but you might want to track your heart rate relative to your gear ratio, and you'd be able to do that here and display it in different values. And so all of the gearing information is here and available. And we have a widgets documentation that tells you all of the data and math that's available for calculating your own statistics. And I think that covers all of the virtual shifting. If you have any questions, comment on the video or join our Discord. Thanks.